Welcome to the Skip and Shannon Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Amber Theo Harris, filling in for Joy Taylor. You can catch us Monday through Friday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific on FS1. This is what this podcast is all about. It is an unscripted, unfiltered, and undisputed version of the day's show. Here's what we have today. The guys debate if we should really start considering LeBron James for MVP after this amazing month he is putting together. Nick has some harsh words for the Zen master, Mr. Phil Jackson, on how he's handled the Carmelo Anthony situation in New York. We try to answer the question if Draymond Green is becoming a liability for the Warriors. Plus, Chris does not believe Robert McNair, owner of the Houston Texans, has enough guts to trade J.J. Watt. Finally, Fox Sports NBA analyst and our friend Chris Broussard checks in to tell us what the King needs to do this year and next to pass his airness as the best ever. How was last night for you guys?
It's a great night. LeBron was amazing. Draymond got thrown out. I went to bed a happy man last night, CC.
He was also probably really happy because he probably sat in a public place, a restaurant, didn't talk to anyone, had his headphones on, listening to sports, watching sports, and sleep.
Right.
Yeah, so he was 100% comfortable.
I was in my absolute perfect zone.
He's a little different.
Yeah, alone watching sports, that sounds fabulous to me. Would love to do that. All right, let's start with Nick's favorite player, LeBron James. LeBron and the Cavs beat the Pacers last night. LeBron James scored 31 points in the win on 12 of 17 shooting. The Cavs have won 7 out of their last 8 heading into the All-Star break. All right, Chris, LeBron has been great this month. Has it been enough to put him at the top of the MVP race?
Not at the top of the list, because what we've seen from a historic portion, what's coming out of Houston and James Harden, we haven't seen this in a long, long time, if ever. Russell Westbrook, what he's doing in OKC, and what they have done since October. Not February, not January. They have played at a level that the conversation, for the most part, will be dominated by either one of these two. Your question is, should he be put at the top of the list? No, this should get him on the list because he's the best player in the world. And this is mostly his own fault because he's been so good for such a long period of time that when he starts the season 23, shooting 49.8%, 36% from three. This is October and November. 8 rebounds, 9 assists. You would think, wow, it seems like LeBron started really slow. Because in the month of February, he's 27 points, 63% from the field, 60% from three-point range, 6 rebounds, 10 assists. It's one of the best months that he's ever had. So he should be included in the conversation. We have 26, 28 games left after the All-Star break, which starts after tonight's game. So, yes, he should be in the conversation, but we just witnessed Aaron Rodgers have probably one of the greatest half of a season or 3/4 of a season that we've ever seen. He was considered for the MVP. He's considered to be the best talent. Tom Brady, great season, missed the first 4 games. He was considered MVP. But I think the more important people, Greg Popovich, every year could be coach of the year. Does he get it? No. Michael Jordan could have got it every year. Bill Belichick, should he get it every year? He could get it every year, but they don't. And you have these seasons like Russ is having and like Harden are having where they deserve most of the attention. But the way LeBron has played in February, because January the team was average, they were 7-8. So it doesn't exclude him from being in the group, but how he has come on in the month of February, yes, he should be included in the conversation, but those two are number 1 and number 2 in my book. And I like LeBron.
Right.
And I love LeBron, but I never thought there would be a person who likes LeBron, loves LeBron more than me.
I just like watching greatness, and it's what we're seeing with LeBron. I sat right here in this seat Monday and said, LeBron James is your league MVP. And everyone said I was crazy. People said, what are you talking about? He's not, we talked about this because ABC put up a graphic of leading MVP candidates. There were 4 guys on it, and they didn't include LeBron. Isaiah Thomas was on there. Kawhi Leonard was on there, in addition to Harden and Russ, who you talked about. And now we sit here today, as the All-Star break approaches in about 12 hours, and the conversation surrounding the All-Star game is going to be about whether or not LeBron James is the MVP. You heard Bill Walton and Dick Vitale on the broadcast last night say it. You're seeing the national writers all of a sudden, well, wait, let's look
You also heard that telecast them say a bunch of other stuff, too.
That's fair.
Okay.
It was a different type of telecast.
It was fun.
But so then you're right, Cece. It cannot just be that LeBron in February put together maybe the best month of his first ballot Hall of Fame, one of the 2 greatest players ever career. It has to be about the full season. I agree. And the thing is, throughout the full season, he's been the most consistent, best player in the league. If you want to just look at bad games where a star player, scores around 20 or less, bunch of turnovers, low shooting percentage. On the season, Durant's got 4 of them. Harden and Russ have 5 and 6 of them. LeBron's had 2 bad games all year long. If you want to talk about the impact on his team, Kawhi Leonard, when he's on the court, the Spurs are 1.2 points better per 100 possessions than when he's off the court. James Harden, when he's on the court, the Rockets are 5.5 points better than when he's off the court. LeBron James is, when he's on the court compared to off, 12.2 points better. When he's off the court, his team is terrible. They get outscored per 100 possessions. And I want to add a little historical context to this discussion. Because you guys, anyone who follows me on Twitter, you know this. I love Russ. I think Russ should be the shining example we show youth athletes about how you compete, how you get, what type of teammate you are. I love Russ.
Is Russ like the modern day or the new Kobe?
He has that mentality.
Okay.
I think he distributes more than Kobe, and he's not nearly as good of a shooter. But like as far as, to answer that question, I bet Kobe's favorite player is Russ because that's the mentality he has. But since 1983, every single MVP, as long as there's been at least an 82-game season, has come from a 50-win team. The Thunder are not going to win 50 games. Now, people might say, well, what about if he averages a triple-double? The only time someone's averaged a triple-double was the 1962 season. I'm going to give you some lines from that year. Elgin Baylor that year gave you 38 and 19. He finished 4th in the MVP. Oscar Robertson gave you the triple-double, 31, 13, 11. He finished 3rd in the MVP. That's the Russ. Wilt Chamberlain gave you 50 and 25. That's the James Harden. He finished 2nd in the MVP. You know who won the MVP that year? Bill Russell. 19 points, 24 rebounds. Why did he win it? Because that's when the players voted and everyone said he has the biggest impact on winning. Mm-hmm. It's not about the individual numbers. There were 85 votes. He got 51 of the first place votes, even though a dude averaged 50 and 25, different dude averaged a triple-double.
And it wasn't like these were just outlier seasons or just players just having a year. I mean, they were 2 of the 10 top best players,
greatest
in
players
Wilt and
ever.
Oscar.
Right.
Isn't that always the debate, though, with an MVP? Is it the best player with the best numbers, or do you really have to account for the value to the team because it is most valuable player?
Thankfully, this year, it's the same guy. That's the thing. It may be a few weeks ago it wasn't. But with the strong stretch in February, with the fact that his team right now, there's 39 and 13 when LeBron plays, 0 and 3 when he doesn't. The answer to all these, who is having the most efficient overall best season? It's LeBron. Who has the biggest impact on winning? It's LeBron. Who is the universally accepted best basketball player alive? It's LeBron. This is not a knock on Harden or Westbrook. LeBron's just better and playing better.
Now, does the 7 and 8 team record in the month of January hurt his candidacy? Because during the month of January, it was football talk, but a lot of talk around the NBA was MVP and the stat lines of these other 2 players, and you didn't hear much from a positive standpoint about LeBron compared to the Barkley comment, the injuries, and those things. Did that hurt his
Of course it hurt him, but no more than James. We don't have to just pick the month of January. Right. James Harden, the Rockets in the last 18 games, they're 9 and 9, 9 and 9, 7 and 8. That's 6 one, half dozen the other. And by the way, what we're seeing with Harden, these last 18, as his minutes have gone up, his efficiency's gone down. Harden's now playing the last 18 similar minutes to LeBron, and all of a sudden 43% from the field, 35% from 3. Meanwhile, LeBron is shooting, I've got it right here, 54% from the field, 39% from 3, in addition to giving you 26, 8, and 9 a night. This isn't a Lifetime Achievement Award. It's not changing the rules. It's just saying his team's going to be the 1 seed. They're awful when he's not on the court. He now has 2/5 of his starting lineup out due to injury. And, oh, yeah, he's better than everybody, and reminded everybody of that last night through 3 quarters, where it was an absolutely magnificent performance.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And the conversation going forward after the All-Star break, LeBron would be included in those conversations that he hadn't been included in.
And these last 28 games will have a lot to say about how this shakes out.
No doubt. One final note. And again, I used to live in Houston. I love Harden. Russ is my second favorite athlete going right now. The NBA record. Yeah,
who's number 1?
The NBA record for turnovers in a year is 374. This season, that's the record. Most ever, 374. Harden is on pace for 476, and Russ is on pace for 451. All the time we've been playing basketball, no one's ever had more than 375 turnovers. Harden and Russ are both going to blow that out of the water this year. That's got to play into account as well.
No mercy.
Hey guys, Skip has a word about Parachute.
Thanks, Joy. Parachute makes modern bedding for a more comfortable home. Their sheets are crafted in Europe in world-class factories with the best materials. Their bedding is 100% natural, which means no harmful synthetics, just an extremely comfortable feel. Their sateen sheets are incredibly soft and smooth, unlike any other cotton you've felt before. Parachute's sateen Veniset feels amazing. The fitted sheet, duvet cover, and pillowcases are all great. When you get up as early as we do for Undisputed, it's important to get a good night's sleep, and that starts with great bedding. Parachute can deliver for you. Now, you can visit parachutehome.com/undisputed to get free shipping and returns on Parachute's comfy bedding. Plus, their 60-night trial means that you can test run their sheets for 2 whole months. If you don't love your new bedding, just send it back, no questions asked, and they'll donate the returns to Habitat for Humanity.
Thanks, Skip. Again, that's parachutehome.com/undisputed, and you'll get free shipping and returns on their bedding. Now back to the show.
No mercy.
LeBron James's Sports Illustrated cover with the title The Chosen One came out 15 years ago this week. Since entering the NBA, LeBron has won 3 NBA titles and 4 MVP awards. That puts him 3 titles and 1 MVP behind Michael Jordan. Joined now by Chris Broussard. Always good to have you with us.
Always good to be here.
All right, so what does he need to do to be the greatest and pass Jordan?
Well, let me say this. Look, everybody knows I'm a LeBron fan. Love him as a player and a person. But I feel like, unlike a lot of people on either side of this argument, I'm objective.
Or on this side of the desk.
I'm objective.
You coming in friendly.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. We know who we talking about. That side, whoever it is in that chair, is not objective when it comes to LeBron James.
I think it's just being old, because I'm on this side, too. I'm on this side, too. Different memories.
But I think one thing a lot of millennials feel the way you feel, okay? Some think he's all ready to go. If they be fully honest, they think he's all ready to go. What you have to accept is that in many people, I don't think LeBron can ever be viewed like Jordan is right now, whereas Jordan is the undisputed GOAT. Like really no debate, right? Whenever you say who's the greatest basketball player, it's always Jordan. No argument.
Kareem and Wilt get a few receiving votes, but yes.
9 out of 10 would say
That's
Jordan.
more out of respect.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. It's Jordan, okay? I don't know if LeBron will ever get to that point where it's like, oh, he's definitely the greatest, okay? For me, I think, I've said it on this show before, he has to win this season, the championship, and next season to be the GOAT. And he has to be the best player. He has to get the MVPs in the finals. He has to clearly be the dominant player in those series. And then you have a strong argument that he could be the GOAT.
But he lost in finals.
Yeah, he's lost in finals.
So does that affect it, even if he wins the next 2 years?
He still wouldn't have 6 rings. But I don't think it's all about just exact number. I think he's better than Kobe. And Kobe has 5 rings. LeBron only has 3. So LeBron would have the longevity argument. He'd have 5 rings. He'd have a 3-peat. His career is going to be much longer in terms of excellence than Jordan's. okay? He's going to be in the top 5 at least in scoring, top 10 in assists. That's unprecedented. You can argue he will have beaten a better cast of teams, okay? The great San Antonio team. He will have beaten this Golden State team probably 3 straight years, this super team. That's something Jordan didn't do.
In your scenario, if he does.
Yeah, and you know what? If the Spurs get to the finals this year and they beat the Spurs, that's not the same as beating the Warriors. Even though the Spurs will have beaten the Warriors, that's not a super team. That's one superstar in San Antonio.
And one of the arguments against Mike was that the teams he played in the finals weren't great teams.
Yes.
So there's always going to be an argument, whatever type of greatness or whatever type of accomplishments you are, there's always going to be people that try to shoot holes in them. And because LeBron has lost in the finals, and the number of times that he's lost, there's a lot of people that think he'll never be able to get to Michael
And
Jordan.
one was ugly, the Dallas one.
Yes.
That was ugly.
First of all, at the end of Michael Jordan's career, we started getting a little Michael Jordan fatigue, all right? Even though he was the greatest, why is he playing in Washington? Oh, he's not that good. So we see this over time. Now that we've skipped, a couple decades, now because we have LeBron and the Kobes, that it's starting to generate more enthusiasm. But, man, Michael Jordan, the fatigue is not there anymore because we have been watching basketball for as long as he's been alive, so that we've seen a lot more basketball. So I think LeBron still has a chance, but it's going to be very, very difficult, especially those 2 three-peats that Jordan has. Those are hard. Those are hard to compare anything to. Now, LeBron, from an argument's sake, if Kevin Love doesn't get hurt, if Kyrie doesn't get hurt, LeBron could be going for a three-peat right now. If they don't have the Maverick series, he could have three-peated in Miami. So he could be going for his second three-peat. So I don't think he can never be in the conversation as the GOAT. Now, I think it's very, very difficult. And Michael Jordan's son, Marcus, told us to call him next time we have this discussion. So he sent Nick some shoes and everything, hoping that he would be on Team Jordan. But obviously, LeBron and his crew, I got to get Dallas and Maverick and them to send you some talent.
All right, hold on. All right. And
we get free.
Calm down first now. Calm down. Get yourself together.
If he wins the next 2, though, if he wins this year, next year, does that make him the GOAT?
To me, no. They're on equal footing. You can't take away them 2 three-peats and 6-0.
What did Rick James say? Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Oh, I was going to quote something else.
Yeah, there's plenty of other things we could have said, but
let's go with that one.
Yeah.
Nostalgia.
I can testify to
that. Nostalgia is a hell of a drug, man. The way we revise history about what did and didn't happen. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this whole thing.
You're talking about Jordan now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because LeBron's in it. So I will, at least for this entree, give no opinions, just some facts. Michael Jordan, before Scottie Pippen got there, because people talk about LeBron's cast, before Scottie Pippen got there, not only didn't win a playoff series, only won 1 playoff game, 1 in 9 in
Played
the playoffs.
Boston twice. One of the greatest all-time.
Okay, hold up. Just let me just lay it out. Let me lay it out.
Had people calling him God.
Hold on. Let me just
Larry Bird.
That's fine. Let me just lay it out. Michael Jordan. People bring up the 6-0 in the finals, which is really, really impressive. But that also means he lost 7 times before getting to the finals. Michael Jordan, 30-7 in playoff series in his career. LeBron James, 29-8 in playoff series in his career. They've played the same amount of series. LeBron has 1 fewer series victory. Michael Jordan, they'd have won 8 straight, is what I hear, if he didn't go play baseball or get thrown out of the league for gambling. One of the 2. I forget which happened. Okay, well, that's interesting. And that would be a good point if Michael Jordan had actually missed 2 seasons. But he didn't. He missed a season and a half.
Oh, hold on. You gonna hold that 17-game season when he came back from playing baseball for a year and a half against us? You gonna count that?
Chris, I'm not holding anything against him. What I am not going to do is The
Forget it.
revisionist history that acts like it didn't happen. Michael Jordan was good enough.
Please.
Hold on, Chris. Was
Please.
Jordan? He was super rusty. I get it. He wasn't that rusty when in his first week back he put a double nickel up in the Garden. He wasn't rusty. It was.
That's just how great he was.
Okay.
He didn't shoot a good percentage
Okay,
that
okay.
whole time he came back.
So again,
he was not the same.
Okay, hold on. Well, same or not the same, what I do know is his team made the playoffs, and in those playoffs, they were beaten. And so what you can't do is say the 2 years of rest didn't help him get the three-peat, but the 2 years of rest also don't count when you're evaluating what happened in that window. No one is disputing that Michael Jordan right now is the greatest player ever. What we all must recognize, though, is LeBron's not done. LeBron already has more rebounds and assists than Michael Jordan. LeBron will pass Michael Jordan in points. They shoot postseason and regular season combined the exact same percentage from the field, the exact same percentage from three. So at the end of the day, when LeBron wins it this year and is beaten, forget you're saying if he wins the next two, wins it this year, and he's got 2 back-to-backs. He's beaten, people bring up, he hasn't beaten as many 50-win teams. Yeah, but he beat a 73-win team last I checked. You mentioned how impressive it was beating the Spurs when they did. Yep. The argument will simply be this. LeBron's going to have better numbers than Jordan in everything. LeBron's going to be the most consistent performer the league has seen since Russell's Celtics. The idea that Magic...
In terms of
playing for a title every year.
But Russell Celtics had 11 rings.
I said since Russell Celtics. Post-Russell Celtics, we haven't seen...
Magic played for 9 rings.
Right, and LeBron's played for 7. Magic was 5 and 4. LeBron, listen, how about this? I will fold my hand if LeBron never makes another finals. But we all know that ain't the case. And as you know, how great was Magic? How great was Kareem? How great was Bird? How great all those guys? Yet none of those guys ever made the finals more than 4 years in a row. So this idea that Jordan would have just ripped off 6, 7, 8 straight, there is no historical precedent for it. And by the way, even if he would have, you know what? Your actions matter. And when we are evaluating your basketball career, taking 2 years or a year and a half off in the middle of your prime to go play another sport has to count. If LeBron...
Does it count against you?
It doesn't count for you.
I'm not saying it counts for you or against you.
If LeBron after this season went to go play tight end for the Browns for a year and a half and
would that count against him?
Of course, when we're evaluating him as a basketball player, of course, because he wasn't playing basketball. It's really amazing to me the idea that and it's not just you. A lot of people want to say the playoffs that he came back for in the 95 season don't count. Why do they not count? Why?
Because he was rusty. It counts.
No,
it counts. It counts. All right. All we're saying is he was rusty.
Do you think he thought he could win it?
Yeah, he thought he always thought he could.
Yeah.
He may have thought he could play at 50. Didn't he say that at his Hall of Fame induction?
Because he could have just taken that entire season off, come back the next year. He didn't. And he got beat by a Magic team. Like, that happened. That's on the record books. It counts. All of it counts. And your point about, listen, the biggest feather in Jordan's cap versus LeBron, it's not the 6-0 versus 3-4. It is the Mavericks series. Because Jordan never had a personal meltdown like LeBron did. You guys joke
That's what
about
a lot of people will.
Right.
That's why a lot of people will
that's
have
fair.
him over.
I'm here to, people, you could just joke with me, it's fine, about me being a fan of LeBron, and I am. But I'm here to be fair. What LeBron did against the Mavs, it's unprecedented for a great player. It made no sense.
It's unprecedented, look, I have LeBron as the second best player ever right now. And I'm with you. I think he, as I said, win these next 2, he can be the GOAT. But the reason I have him second is because it's not unprecedented. Magic Johnson.
Yes.
1984, they were calling him Tragic Johnson.
I still don't think it was, and I can't
But
believe I'm saying
the things he did, now, he may not have looked like he was melting down.
And he was already a champion.
But the plays, he was already a champ, but the plays he made were inexplicable.
Right, and there wasn't the narrative against Magic. Magic was beloved. Everyone loved him, loved his smile, loved his personality, and he had already won a championship. LeBron was the total opposite.
Yes.
You know, he was the total opposite. And the first time he was on the big stage in Cleveland, which they got massacred. Yeah. And then the next time he got on the big stage was the Dallas. So it's significant how he started off his championship pedigree.
And Larry Bird, people forget this. His first championship, he had 2 8-point games in that series. Right. He was not the MVP. It was Cornbread Max. So if that happened to LeBron, can you imagine if he scored 8
We wouldn't even count the title.
The other guy in that chair would.
No, but like that's and here's the thing. People talk about the other guy in this chair. Like, let me defend Skip on this for a moment. Skip was right about LeBron when no one else was. I will give him credit. Skip was saying LeBron didn't have the clutch gene or whatever it was back when no one saw it. And then the Celtics series happened where he was fine in the elimination game. He had 27, 19,
he wasn't
10.
fine.
No,
look at the numbers. I know he had a triple-double. He also had 9 turnovers, and he wasn't himself.
It was the game before where he was really bad.
It was those last 3,
right.
really.
And then the Mavericks series happened. And I don't know there's ever been anyone in media that was more right when everyone was wrong than Skip was after that Mavericks series. The problem is this. Since that Mavericks series, LeBron has put together the best 5.5-year stretch in the history of the sport. No one in a 5.5-year stretch has more MVPs, has more titles, has more finals appearances. He's never been injured. He's playing right now. You could argue February was the best month he's ever had.
No. I would look. He's playing great this month, but let's not. The best month he's ever had.
He's giving you 27, 8, and 11 on 65%.
He averaged 31 for a whole season.
I get it. On 65% shooting and 62% from 3, it's in the argument for one of the best months he's ever had.
Look, I'm with you. Like I said, I think he can be the GOAT. But what you're arguing, that's why some people will say he never can be the GOAT. You brought up those 2 series, Dallas and Boston, and that's what some people say. This is the thing, too, about Jordan. Well, because I want to ask you this. If he wins this year,
it's over.
He's the GOAT.
Assuming he doesn't retire, I'm projecting the fact that he is going to finish top 2
But let's not project. If he wins this year.
If he wins this year.
Is he the GOAT, in your opinion?
If he wins this year, he and Jordan, to me, are right there. Okay. And then the tiebreaker will be whether he wins more titles or not. The fact that he's going to have, it's totally in play that 4.5 more years of near this level of productivity. And I think he plays longer than that. He's first all-time in points, third all-time in assists. Like,
how old was Jordan? How old was Jordan when he retired? 39?
Well, the last time.
Well,
yeah.
40 with this.
All right, so one thing, okay, let's assume that LeBron James can play that long. One thing we can all agree on, this is a premature conversation. There's a lot of years left for LeBron. Yeah, a lot of years left for LeBron.
No, listen, it's totally premature. He's got to wait about another 4 months, and then he's got it.
No mercy.
Carmelo Anthony's name has been in trade rumors the last few weeks. The Knicks have reportedly talked to at least 3 teams about a potential trade. Carmelo has a no-trade clause and plans on staying in New York this season. Take a listen.
I never thought I would be anywhere else. I mean, you was thinking that.
Right.
You was writing about that.
Well, you gave an out. You said...
I didn't give any indication on that. Like I told y'all before, nothing came to me. Nothing came to my table and for me to look at. So it was... You know, until that time comes, and they don't need for me to even talk about the trade clause.
All right, Phil Jackson, he ain't going nowhere. So what happens next with the Knicks?
If Phil Jackson doesn't trade Carmelo Anthony, which has clearly been his goal, clearly been his biggest objective of the season, he's undermined the chemistry of the team in order to achieve this goal. Carmelo's the no-trade clause, so Phil's entire objective for the season has been get Melo to waive his no trade so he can trade him. He's got a few days left. If he does not accomplish his single solitary goal for the year, he should have some dignity, have some respect for the franchise, and resign. It's as simple as that. When you have one singular objective, when you undermine other objectives to achieve it, and you fail, you give up your position. Like, we don't talk politics on this show, but in the UK, the Prime Minister, David Cameron, was like, don't vote for Brexit. Don't vote for Brexit. It's a big deal. Don't do it. They voted for Brexit. Guess what he did the next day? He resigned because he had some self-respect and realized I failed. I have a big-time job. I failed. I need to let someone else do it. Phil, all year long, has undermined Carmelo Anthony. Melo hasn't been terrible. Melo's giving you 23-6-5 or 23-6-3. In his career, he gives you 25-7-3. He's been the same player this year that he is every year. The same player that Phil signed to the max extension. You decided you didn't want him. You put all your chips in the middle of the table to get him out of there. If you don't succeed at that, have some dignity and quit your job, Phil.
No, Phil's not going to quit. And, part of the problem, let's put Melo to the side just first of all. This offseason, what did they do? All right? They went out and signed Joakim Noah, gave him a 4-year contract at $72 million. Okay? Guaranteed. All right? He's giving you a whopping 5 points a game.
Terrible.
8 rebounds, missed 11 games. Okay, Derrick Rose, we're going to get him in the last year of his contract, paying him $17 million, I think, a year. So Derrick Rose, he's 17 points a game, 4 or 5 assists a game. That's about as good as Derrick Rose can play.
Rose hadn't been terrible.
No, that's about as good as he can play, though, because we've lowered our expectations.
Yep.
So these were the players that were supposed to be added to Melo, because when you give Melo one of the very, very exclusive no-trade clauses that only Dirk has, only LeBron has, Melo is not trying to leave New York. He's never said he wanted to leave New York. And I wouldn't leave New York unless I got a deal where I could possibly win a championship or be able to play for a team that was a contender that had guys who I wanted to play with. That being either with the Clippers and Chris Paul, or that being LeBron in Cleveland. So the Knicks, they're stuck with Carmelo.
And they're stuck with him because their current president, Phil Jackson, is the one that gave him
the
his
clause.
current deal. Yeah. I'm so sick of that Phil acting like he inherited Melo.
Right.
He didn't. And what he's done this year, I've said it before, I'll say it again, it is sports treason. Yeah. It is.
It's embarrassing. It's really embarrassing what Carmelo has had to face.
Charlie Rosen, who coached with Phil and is Phil's confidant and friend, Charlie Rosen wrote in January, Carmelo Anthony's legs are going, almost gone. Moreover, his sticky fingers causes whatever ball and player movement is in effect to come to a grinding stop. Since his recurring complaint is that everybody blames him for every game the Knicks lose, perhaps Melo is sufficiently disgusted to accept a trade elsewhere, perhaps to the young, rebuilding Lakers. After all, his wife's name is Lala. After that happened, he and Phil had a detente. They had a meeting of the minds because Melo knew that came from Phil. Did Phil learn his lesson? Of course he didn't. Bleacher Report's Kevin Ding writes all of this in an article. Anthony's a likable person who happens to be nowhere near Jordan or Bryant and will to win. Anthony is who he is, addicted to his individual success, no matter the experience or insight put around him to teach him something more. Jackson has had concerns for years about Carmelo not possessing a winning mentality. What was the response for that article from Phil in his first tweet in 2 months? Bleacher's Kevin Ding almost rings the bell, but I learned you don't change the spot on a leopard with Michael Graham in my CBA days. I get it, Phil. You are trying to Costanza the situation. You are trying to make it so uncomfortable for Melo that he quits. Well, instead of quits, that he says, you can trade me.
Yes.
If you fail, you have to quit. It's as simple as that, man. Like, have some self-respect, Phil. It's that simple, man.
Melo's never been through a year like this. In regards to what you think about him, he doesn't deserve this as far as
Nobody does.
the leaks to the media. Well, there's certain players that you get to a certain point where you deserve a certain amount of respect. Like, he chose New York. He didn't choose to go there to be traded, to be bartered. Like, he wasn't trying to play on a super team. He wanted to play in New York because he likes New York. But also, what's also happening off the court with Phil Jackson, what's happening with the owner, what happened to Charles Oakley getting kicked out and arrested at the game, all that plays on Melo's mind because Oakley is one of the great New York Knicks. So not only am I being mistreated while I'm on the court, look what my future looks like when I retire as far as my relationship with management.
Melo's been their best player. He just got named to the All-Star team as a replacement for Kevin Love. He has been a consistent performer. The Knicks aren't good. I get it. Part of that's because of the bad team building. Part of that is on Melo because he's been a good player, but not a he hasn't all of a sudden reinvented himself as one of the 5 best players in the world. They're only 4 games out of a playoff spot. In the East, it's doable as long as these distractions go away. And I do not think Carmelo Anthony should be vilified for asking for a no-trade clause, getting the no-trade clause, and then, shockingly, not wanting to be traded.
Yeah, that's the only thing saving him is the no-trade clause now.
Right.
So if Melo and Phil, most likely both are going nowhere if Phil decides not to resign, where does that leave the Knicks? And James Herbert from CBS Sports, he put it this way. He said, the Knicks remain now between 2 eras with a win-now mentality and no hope of being real contenders. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that I get.
They've won 1 playoff series since 2001. They've always been between 2 different eras since the 70s.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like
the one good era
the
one good era they had, one of the faces of it was the guy who was getting pulled to the ground by security, Charles Oakley, the mid-90s Knicks, that even though they never won a title, they were consistently good. From a basketball perspective, moving Melo makes a ton of sense. Get a younger players to build around Kristaps.
Yes.
Kristaps at some point, probably as soon as next year, will be the best player on that team. I get it. But if that's your long-term play, Melo still would have signed in New York if you don't give him the no trade. You made this bed, Phil Jackson. You are now trying to unmake it. The idea, if it were the other way around, it was a player doing this to a coach or front office. If a player essentially went through the media, said, I want the coach fired, I want the GM fired, these guys aren't doing their job, they're losers, they're not doing it the right way, and the owner decided, no, I'm keeping the coach or I'm keeping the GM, guess what would happen? The player would be gone. That's what I think Phil should be staring at.
No mercy.
The Warriors blew out the Kings last night, but the bigger story was Draymond Green. Green was ejected in the second quarter after getting a second technical foul for arguing a call. Including in the playoffs, Draymond has 40 technical fouls over the last 3 seasons, second most in the NBA. After the game, Steve Kerr talked about Draymond's ejection. Take a listen.
We love Draymond. He plays with an edge, and we need that edge. In many ways, he kind of represents our toughness and our energy. And it's, we struggle sometimes, without him to bring the energy. That wasn't the case tonight. Obviously, without him, we stepped it up in the third quarter. But Draymond, he's always going to play on that edge, and tonight he crossed the edge, and we need him to walk that line. And we don't want to take away that chip on his shoulder, but we need him on the floor too.
Coach says it's a fine line, Chris. How should the Warriors handle Draymond?
Well, you just heard the recipe. Like a lot of times we always try to come up with these plans. Okay, what are they going to do? What's going to be their action? You heard the coach. He's a spokesperson for the team. We have an edge player. We allow him to walk on the edge. Oh, hey, tonight he stepped over the edge. Well, the last time he stepped over the edge, he cost you a championship. Like, there's not a lot of people in any sport to say, you know something? I cost my franchise a championship. Like, wow. I mean, that's pretty revealing. So for me, I would be more concerned. It would be more of a nervous laugh. It wouldn't be a laugh, a chuckle, because if he decides to cross the line again at the wrong time, I mean, you mentioned the technicals. So in itself, how much are we going to be able to depend on him? Now, imagine they get in a series again where they get down. And he said they need his energy because the other players are very introvert or just mild-mannered guys, great guys. Clay, Steph, and KD, you're not going to meet better people, better human beings than these guys. But they got to play with Draymond. And the kind of strange twist to me is that KD left the stability of a nice, quiet OKC. Now, people said that he had a problem with Westbrook because of the way he played, maybe that he was selfish. Well, when you get kicked out of a game and you're not available for your teammates, what is that? Isn't that selfish? Like, because to me, this was not a call that would warrant me getting 2 technicals. Now, the first one, yes, I'm going to give he said GD to the referee, so he was definitely going to get at least 1 technical. But at that point, based on how demonstrative he was on the court, he knew he was on the edge.
Andy didn't know that they were going to win the game by 25. Like
No.
it was a 4-point game at that point in time, late in the second quarter.
A lot of emotion at that
Right.
point.
And also just they're playing the king. So they were able to, so sometimes you make mistakes and you're able to get away with it. So you don't really get the full effect of what he had done. The full effect was what happened in Cleveland, where it changed the momentum of the series. And like I'll say it again, who do you know in sports that can say, me, I single-handedly lost my city, lost my franchise, lost my teammates a championship? And Draymond is in that class. So these are the things that we see outwardly. Just imagine the things inwardly, because I've been with players that are edgy players. And there are things that are released to the public, but there's also always at least a half dozen of things that people don't know about.
For good or for bad, he reminds you a little of Randy.
Randy's a more talented player.
Right, no doubt. But I mean, like the way his emotions can kind of dictate a locker room.
I wouldn't say Randy was more of an energizer bunny. When Randy got off the bus and came into the locker room, it was like, hey, boys, I'm here. The show is here. Let's get ready to do this. And when I asked him, you know, what do you want to do? What's your goal in the NFL? It wasn't, I want to be the best wide receiver. He said, I want to make them pay for what they said about me on draft day. I'm going to rip the league up. So he had a different attitude.
But what about the days when he came off the bus not like that? How did that affect the team?
Well, for me as a leader, like, his attitude didn't affect me positive or negative. Like, I know that. Like, he's an emotional player. But even when he wasn't great, like, up, he was still good as a player.
Right, and he wasn't getting kicked out again.
No, he wasn't going to never get thrown out of a game.
All right, so a few things. First, let me deal with something you said that I think's become conventional wisdom. And it's important because I think the Warriors believe it, but I don't believe it to be true, which is the idea that if Draymond was there for Game 5, the Warriors would be NBA champions. He was there for Game 6. LeBron was even better in Game 6 than he was Game 5.
Right.
He was there for Game 7. They lost that game at home.
But it was such a distraction. You don't think that affected?
I think, listen, the Cavs won Game 5 by double digits. I don't think Draymond was going to make the difference in that game. He would have helped. I still think the Cavs...
They lost 2 games at home.
What? Correct. Yeah, I think the Cavs still would have been champions, but whether I think it's true or not, what Chris is saying is important because I know Draymond and his teammates, I've read enough articles, I've talked to enough people, there is belief within that organization that Draymond's inability to control his emotions is the reason they're not the 2-time defending champs, is the reason last year's Warriors are not considered the greatest basketball team start to finish of all time. And that is what should concern Warriors fans. If that doesn't teach you your lesson, if that is not your rock bottom, then the hell's going to teach you your lesson.
Well, that's not rock bottom either, because since that, since he got kicked out, he had the altercation he had with the former Michigan State football player.
He slapped a student.
Yeah, he also had an awful showing in the Olympics. Like, he didn't even look like he deserved to be on that.
An awful showing on Snapchat, too.
That too.
Yeah.
So there have been other things.
And this year, CC, here's the thing about Draymond. He is the most important player on that team. He is the only player on that team, in my estimation, that if he goes down, they're finished. Because he's the only, Clay, Draymond, and Steph are almost redundant skill sets. It's great to have all three, but if one of them's out for an extended period, the other two can pick up the slack. No one on that team does what Draymond does.
No one.
And he knows it. He knows how important he is, but he can't control himself. Since Steve Kerr took over, you mentioned it, 40 technicals. This year, 10 technicals, 5th most in the NBA this season, and he's one away from being in the top 3. It's just Boogie is just blowing the field away.
Right.
The only player, in the last, since Kerr took over, the only player with more technicals than Draymond is Boogie. There's a lot going on inside this very emotional player's head. One of those things is this. Man, I was the best player on our team in the biggest game of the year. I got suspended for Game 5, but in Game 7, I showed up.
Yes.
And now, this year, I am marginalized. Last season, 14, 10, 7, 49% from the field, 39% from 3. This year, 10, 8, 7. 4 fewer points, 2 fewer rebounds, and he's shooting a much worse percentage. 43% from the field and 32% from 3. The difference between 39% from 3, that's a really good three-point shooting season. 32% from 3, well below league average. Despite that, he's shooting more threes and getting to the line less. He is a worse offensive player this season. He's had to take a huge backseat.
Because of KD.
Because KD's there, and
he has no post game.
No.
Because that's where he should spend more time in the post. When you add another shooter, not to interrupt you, when you add another shooter like that, he should go into the post more and get some easy buckets.
This is...
You just said they can't lose him, though. And now you're
they can't. No. They can't lose him because of what Kerr said, because of the energy, because of the emotion, and most importantly, because of the defense. He's marginalized offensively. Anyone that's played basketball, Chris played at a super high level. Basketball is the sport that I played the longest in my life. Everyone knows. Not 10th grade, that ain't right. Defense is not fun.
No.
Defense is hard. The way you can get rewarded for defense is shots. Offense is fun. Draymond is arguably having his best defensive season ever, and on offense, he's not getting rewarded for it. And listen, the Warriors are the best record in the league. I think they're going to make the NBA Finals. I'm not acting like the sky is falling. What I am saying is this. Your single most important player walks on the finest line in the league outside of Boogie Cousins. He's an emotional wreck a lot of the time. And on top of all of that, to get to your point, any parent knows that when you get worried about your kid is when they make a mistake, pay a heavy price for that mistake, and then don't learn from it. It's one thing, like, I have an 18-year-old son, as many 18-year-olds do. He gets in a little trouble, sometimes gets... He got in a lot of trouble earlier this year. I wasn't even worried about that. That happens. I did the same thing when I was his age. But if he repeated the behavior after paying that penalty, then we have a problem. When Draymond pays the price, getting kicked out of a finals game or suspended for a finals game, and still he's top 5 in text, still he's kicking folks, and it's, Chris, we saw it on Christmas Day. He should have gotten kicked out of that game in the first quarter. He did what he did last night on Christmas Day, national TV, biggest NBA game of the year, and the refs were just nice to him. He was MFing them all up and down the sideline after getting a technical. He can't control himself. Just can't do it. I don't know what the fix is.
And a leopard doesn't change his spots. I mean, do you see him ever being reeled in? Or if he is reeled in, does he lose that edge that can be the soul of a team?
Well, this is the thing. It's hard to change when you've been successful. He's 2-time first team all defense. Last year, 2nd in defensive player of the year. He's won a gold medal. He's won an NBA championship. Literally, if he don't make that mistake, they're going for a three-peat. Okay? So he's an accomplished player. And the more accomplished you are, the harder it is to change.
And who in that locker room can check him?
Well, you just heard the coach. I mean, look at that. He's a...
He went over the edge.
Yeah. That's the other thing, and I know we got to move on, but real quick, we mentioned Randy. People would have been more worried about Randy's ups and downs if you're not there. You could check Randy. You were an established player, and not that it would ever come to this. I'm not putting this out there or whatever. Like, if you and Randy got into it, like, you guys are you're a little bigger than him. Like, you could check him if you needed to. Nobody on that team can check Draymond. If someone, like, Draymond can check anybody he wants. Nobody can buck to Draymond.
Well, this is the thing before we move on. We're grown men, all right? And you can only say certain things to a grown man. So Randy Moss and I would never get to the point, because we were like brothers, that we would be fighting, all right? My career wasn't worth it, and his career wasn't going to be worth it. But you do need people that can say things to you to be able to get your attention.
And we've seen Draymond do it to KD multiple times this year.
Oh, yeah.
We've seen Draymond do it to Kerr multiple times in the last few years. Nobody does it to Draymond because nobody can do it to Draymond. They win the title, nobody cares. It all doesn't matter. But this is the type of thing that in a lot of people's mind cost them the title last year.
Right.
He ain't learned his lesson.
Edge can easily become a loose cannon. I think we've seen that across all sports. Randy
100%.
Moss, Terrell Owens, another one who people weren't there to really check him through his career.
No mercy.
A column on CBSSports.com says the Texans should seriously consider trading J.J. Watt. Watt only played 3 games this year because of a back injury. The Texans won the AFC South and were the #1 ranked overall defense without Watt for most of the year. Now, granted, Chris, he has been the Defensive Player of the Year 3 of the last 5 years, but should they trade him this offseason?
Well, there's a couple concerns. One happens to be Bob McNair. Bob McNair is one of the great owners, one of the most well-respected, one of the most liked owners, and not only by NFL owners, but by the players that play there in Houston. So I don't think this is going to happen because I don't think McNair has the insides, the guts to build trade the most popular athlete in the state of Texas. You say, wow, you got James Harden, you got Ezekiel Elliott, you got the Cowboys, you got Dak. No, there's no comparison to what J.J. Watt and what he means to the state of Texas. I mean, he has been unbelievable. Now,
he could win Ted Cruz's Senate seat. He is. I lived in Houston for 4.5 years. Yeah. He's more popular than Akeem. You're 100% right. He's the most popular athlete, not just in Houston.
But they have holes to fill.
100%.
And they have an asset.
Well, I didn't want to interrupt, but I just to give some context.
No. It's good context around it. So, at this age, he's 27, right? 26. He's going to be 27.
No, just turned 28, I believe. Turned
March 22nd. He's 27 now. He has the same birthday as my son, Deron. They turned on March 22nd. So, he's at an age where he still has at least 4 to 6 more years in his prime. We know what type of worker he is. We know what type of athlete he is. But what you have is Jadeveon Clowney. You made him the first pick in the draft. Now, after next season, they'll exercise his 5th-year option. So they still have another 1.5 years before they have to extend him. But what you're talking about in 2 years, you're talking about basically having between $30 to $40 million just in 2 defensive linemen. Now, there's 4 defensive linemen that play, all right? But in 2 of them, you have $30 to $40 million. So that's going to be a problem. We have seen the NFL quarterback contracts that once you sign your quarterback to that $100 million contract, we have seen all type of cap problems and the ability to put quality players around that quarterback, it becomes an issue. So for me, I would like to see J.J. Watt play with Jadeveon Clowney. I would love to see it. But they don't have a competent quarterback. Like, could they have won the game against New England if J.J. Watt was playing? I don't think they could have won because they still couldn't score. You know, it's like my daughter used to be a goalie. I'd be like, hey, sweetie, you can't lose if it goes 0-0. Like, so now, like you say, they're drawing dead because they can't score. So how are they going to be able to utilize the asset they have to try to get rid of the quarterback? Well, they made a colossal mistake in Brock Osweiler. Now, I wouldn't make 2 mistakes. In trying to correct 1 mistake, I end up trading JJ, who is I played with Reggie White, all right, in Philadelphia. I played against Lawrence Taylor when he was in the Giants, and we double-teamed him every play. I played against Bruce Smith. I played against almost all the great defensive ends. J.J. Watt is in that class. So do I let this guy go while he still has great years? He also has a back issue that is very, very tricky to determine when is that back going to go again. You know, some of the great players, their careers have been ended because of back injuries. I don't think McNair will trade him. I think it's a possibility. For me, I look at the possibility because I need a quarterback so bad. How do I beat the team in New England? And I don't believe having J.J. Watt and Clowney is the recipe to it. I need to be able to score some points, and I need a competent quarterback, and I have no faith in Brock Osweiler being the quarterback of the future for Houston.
Osweiler's terrible, okay? Like, that should be a given from everyone. It's one of the biggest free agent mistakes in NFL history. They signed him without meeting with him. They gave him 30
Say that again, man, because I know this, but a lot of people don't know.
They signed him without meeting
So
with
they
him.
talked to him on the phone.
I guess.
They made him an offer.
$72 million.
$72 million, $37 million guaranteed.
With no meet and greet.
With no meeting, no workout, no nothing. So listen, that is, at this point, Brock Osweiler is a sunk cost. He's not bad. He's terrible. He might be the worst full-time starting quarterback in the NFL. I think last year he was. I get that.
Jared Goff right here in L.A.
I give him a curve a little bit because he's a rookie.
no problem.
But the guys that should be good by now,
yes,
that are on big-time contracts, nobody's bad as Osweiler.
Lost his job to Tom Savage.
Absolutely. And so, okay. So we all agree on that. And then there's this article that was saying you should trade JJ. The reason they were doing it was because in 2015 with JJ and in 2016 without him for almost the entire season, they allowed almost the exact same yards per game, almost the exact same rushing yards per game. Their defense seemed statistically identical with and without JJ. But that doesn't tell the full story. Because 2015, they didn't have this Jadeveon Clowney. In 2015, they had a great J.J. Watt and a Jadeveon Clowney coming off injury, playing mostly out of position, learning how to play. Because he had the microfracture early in his career. He had been, he had really lost his first couple seasons due to injury. This year, you had Clowney full force and JJ out after the first few games.
Right.
So we haven't seen this defense. A team that has spent first-round picks in 6 of the last 8 drafts on defensive players, and all of those guys, those defensive players, still on the team. From Whitney Merciless to Kareem Jackson to Brian Cushing, Clowney, Watt. So we haven't seen this defense at full force. If there were a team that had a good quarterback that was saying, yeah, I'll go Watt for my quarterback, yeah, I'd do that. But that team doesn't exist. Now, you mentioned he's the most popular guy in Texas. If we want to get real creative, if you want to call up Dallas, say, hey, Dallas, we'll give you J.J. Watt. We want Romo and your first-round pick. I'd think about that.
Yes.
I would say, okay, we're going to, then
right.
you've got
you
a quarterback.
need to look at everything possible in this window.
Right.
Like that you're going to have.
But assuming that trade doesn't exist, good quarterbacks are not getting traded. Nobody's out there saying, hey, do you want Big Ben? Hey, do you want Matt Ryan? Do you want Aaron Rodgers?
Right.
So the odds are the Texans are going to be SOL at quarterback no matter what they do with JJ. So I would like for a year, 1 year, and then you can make a decision. 1 year, what does this defense look with Watt and Clowney at full strength?
They were the number 1 overall defense last year. Do they? And they need a quarterback. Do they have to be the best defense ever, ranked as one of the top
this
ever?
is the thing.
That's what you'd rather have than getting a quarterback.
Well, they could be Baltimore.
That's
all right?
the thing.
They can be Denver.
That's right.
Now, being first in the NFL, that doesn't grant you nothing. It doesn't grant you anything as far as playoff wins, but it will keep you in the game. But if they are a historically great defense, because you have to double-team Jadeveon Clowney. Before Watt got hurt, you didn't have to. You have to double-team J.J. Watt, hurt or not hurt.
And so that's the thing. Like you asked, would you rather have the historically great defense or the quarterback? I'd rather have the quarterback, but I think it's a false choice just because could you maybe another fake trade? Could you call up New England and say, we'll give you Watt for Gronk and Garoppolo? You might be able to do that. But I don't happen to believe Jimmy Garoppolo is this surefire thing. There is not this
now,
great
that would be
quarterback.
a good trade.
That's an interesting one, right? There are some interesting ones.
Yeah, because you got damaged goods, you got an
damaged goods
unproven
for
quarterback.
damaged goods,
Right.
yeah.
But unless you are guaranteeing yourself a quarterback, then I am going to try to go the Denver and Baltimore and Tampa route and just see if I can catch lightning in a bottle with the defense. You mentioned they were the number 1 defense in the league last year. It's true, but it's a little misleading because while they were the number 1 in yards, they only forced 17 turnovers.
Yes.
And when your offense is as bad as the Texans' offense is, you need short fields, you need defensive touchdowns, you need strip sacks, and the idea of Watt and Clowney collapsing the pocket feels to me like when you're in that division where the Jags aren't good, the Titans stink, the Colts don't have an offensive line, that D-line in and of itself could win you the division, and then you say to yourself, can we do what Denver did a couple years ago? Can we do what Baltimore and Tampa did 15-plus years ago? It is the better path is the quarterback, but I don't see the quarterback being available. And like you said, Cece, if you let Watt and Clowney play together for 1 year, and then when the cap hit is less onerous, if you trade JJ, you can have this discussion next offseason.
Right, because they're going to exercise this option next year. So you
Clowney,
still get Clowney at a price. And Watt's cap, he signed it through
67.5 over 5 is what he's owed.
through 2021.
Yep.
So his cap numbers is pretty consistent. What I would do, too, I don't mind a plan B, all right? You need a plan A and a plan B. My plan B would be to start Savage and send the dogs after the quarterback. 100%. Because J.J. Watt, Jadeveon Clowney together in that playoff game against New England, that might be enough because they might be able to score 17 points. I don't believe New England can get to 21, all right? So how can I keep New England under 21? That's one way. And I can live with Savage compared to Osweiler. I don't want to see him as a starter.
You've got a cornerback in Jonathan Joseph who's been good for a decade now. You got a cornerback in Kareem Jackson. You spent a first-round pick on. You just gave a big contract to. You have another corner in A.J. Bouye, who Pro Football Focus said was one of the 5 best corners in football last year. Who, he's a free agent. You have to re-sign him. Had a great season. You have Whitney Merciless, the forgotten pass rusher, led all of the NCAA in sacks when he was at Illinois, has had double-digit sacks each of the last 2 years. And then you have Watt and Clowney, plus you see what you can get out of Brian Cushing, John Simon, a few other guys. That's got to be the play. And the other play has to be as simple as, on offense, run Lamar Miller and hope, not Osweiler, but Savage, can hook up with DeAndre Hopkins or Will Fuller a couple times a game. If there were a team that called him up and said, hey, this top 12 quarterback, we'll give him to you, maybe even if the Cleveland Browns called up and said, hey, do you love Deshaun Watson? You want to take him number 1? We'll trade you the number 1 pick for JJ. Fine, but those trades don't exist right now.
And let me tell you, NFL fans, you're getting robbed of a huge talent. DeAndre Hopkins is a man. He's got so much room to improve if he's able to get the ball. So you're not able. I tell coaches, you can't develop a wide receiver unless you can get him the football. Man, he is a great player that people don't know enough about.
He's got maybe, is this fair to say, just hands. It's set everything else aside. Just like sticky, giant hands. I don't know that anyone in the league's better than him as far as like his actual just hand skills.
Him and Larry Fitzgerald, very special class as far as hand skills.
Sounds like you guys are voting for the 2000 Ravens formula with Trent Dilfer and that defense.
I think it's their only path. I think it's an unlikely one, but I think it's their only path.
Could work. Probably get them through the division. Maybe not all the way. We've seen it in the past.
No mercy.
This is the Skip and Shannon Undisputed podcast, where we are delivering you an unscripted, unfiltered, undisputed version of the biggest topics in the day's show. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Like us on Facebook at Undisputed on FS1. And follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Undisputed. Catch us at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 a.m. Pacific, Monday through Friday. You can find us on channel 219 on DirecTV, 150 on Dish. I'm your host, Amber Theo Harris, in for Joy Taylor. Skip, Shannon, and Joy all come back on Monday. Undisputed takes a rare day off tomorrow. Thanks for listening, and from all of us at Undisputed, have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.
Fox Sports, 1 of 1.